Carter walked slowly through the thick jungle of the moon called Verisix. Vines hung low, and strange glowing plants lit up the dark path. The trees weren't trees at all, but tall, thin stalks with pulsing skin. He had seen many weird worlds, but this one was something else. His mission was simple: scan the area, find out if the alien tribes here had any weapons, then return to base. No one thought it was dangerous. They were wrong. His boots crunched softly against the moss. Above, a pair of yellow eyes watched him move. Carter felt something shift in the air, like the jungle was breathing around him. He reached for his sidearm, but it was too late. A blur moved from the trees, and a heavy force knocked him to the ground. His back slammed against the wet dirt, and claws pressed against his throat, sharp, cold. Just enough pressure to make breathing hard. He looked up. She stood over him, tall, silver-skinned, with dark markings on her face. Her hair was braided back, and her armor looked like it was made from bones and black metal. Her claws gleamed under the moonlight. She wasn't just a soldier, she was a hunter. Her deep blue eyes studied him like a prize. "Last wish," she whispered, her voice smooth but full of danger. Carter's lips twitched. Even with claws at his throat, he smiled. "Yeah," he said. "Try using two hands next time." There was silence, 1 second, 2. Then a few low clicks sounded around them. More of her kind stepped from the shadows, confused. Some even tilted their heads, unsure if Carter was mocking their leader or if he had lost his mind. The female warrior raised one brow. She didn't press harder. Instead, she leaned back slightly, curious. Her people, the Arail, were used to fear. Prey always begged or cried. Not this human. "You are strange," she said. "You have no idea," Carter replied, still flat. On his back, his fingers twitched slightly. Hidden in his glove was a small beacon button. If he could press it, it would send a signal to the orbiting ship. Backup might come. But he had to buy time. The Arail leader finally stepped back and gave a short signal with her hand. 2 warriors pulled Carter to his feet. One of them growled and shoved him forward. But he didn't stumble. He stood tall. "Where are we going?" he asked. "You are now our guest," the leader said, "or our lesson. We have not decided." They moved through the jungle quickly. The Arail walked with grace, barely making a sound. Carter was impressed, though he didn't show it. Instead, he watched everything: the path, the way they moved, how they spoke with small hand signals. His brain recorded every detail. After about 30 minutes, they reached a clearing. Their camp was hidden beneath the thick canopy, surrounded by natural barriers. Tall rocks and thorny plants protected it from outsiders. Several small huts made from bone and metal circled a large fire pit. The leader pushed Carter to the center. The other warriors gathered around. Some looked curious, others looked ready to tear him apart. "I am sorry," the leader said. "You will not try to escape." "Wasn't planning to," Carter lied. She studied him. "You joked while I had claws at your throat. Why? Because I don't like dying with boring words." Some Arail chuckled just a little. Others didn't like it. One warrior stepped forward, large and armored, and growled. "I say we test him," the warrior said. "See what he's made of." "I'm made of muscle and sarcasm," Carter said. The crowd hissed. But Asari raised her hand. The others fell silent. "Enough," she said. "He will speak. Then we will decide." Carter sat near the fire, hands tied but eyes sharp. Asari sat across from him, watching. She wasn't just curious now, she wanted to understand him. "Do all humans act like you?" she asked. "Only the good-looking ones," Carter said with a grin. Asari tilted her head. "You're either brave or foolish. Maybe both," he replied. In truth, Carter's heart was racing, but he knew fear didn't help. If he acted weak, they'd break him. If he stayed strong, maybe, just maybe, he could turn this into something else. Deep inside his boot, the hidden beacon blinked. Rescue would come. But first, he had to survive the night. And the silver warrior with claws at his throat wasn't going to make that easy. The fire in the middle of the camp burned slowly, throwing shadows across the strange symbols painted on the ground. Carter sat with his back straight, even though his arms were still tied. His eyes moved from face to face as more Urella warriors gathered. Their armor clinked lightly, and their glowing eyes never blinked. They weren't just watching, they were judging. I sat across from him, legs folded, hands resting on her knees. Her face was calm, but Carter saw the way her fingers twitched, like claws ready to strike again. Even when she was still, she looked like a predator waiting to pounce. "You've been very quiet," she said. "Just listening," Carter replied. "Trying to learn the rules before I break them." A few of the younger warriors hissed again. They didn't like his words, but they didn't move either. Not without Asari's order. "You are strange," she said. "Our last prisoner cried, begged, made noises like a wounded animal. You joke." "Yeah, well," Carter shrugged slightly. "We humans handle fear differently. You're afraid. Anyone smart would be," he answered. "But fear doesn't mean giving up. Sometimes it means you fight harder." Asari nodded slowly. "Maybe that is true. Or maybe you are hiding something." Carter smiled. "We're full of surprises." His boot beacon continued blinking softly. He didn't know if the signal reached orbit yet, but he hoped someone was listening. Time was the only thing he needed. A tall Urella warrior stepped forward and dropped something in front of Carter. It was a bowl of dark red food, steam rising off it. It smelled strange, like cooked roots and something spicy. "Eat," the warrior said. Carter looked at the bowl. "You first." The camp froze again. The warrior leaned in, face close to Carter's, his fangs slightly showing. "Are you saying it's poison?" "I'm saying," Carter said calmly, "you don't win trust by feeding strangers mystery soup." Asari held up her hand. "Enough, Growlick. He eats when he is ready." Growlick growled low but stepped back. Carter gave Asari a nod. "Thanks," he said. "You don't seem like a murderer." "Not right now," she answered. "But that can change." Carter chuckled. "Fair enough." As the night deepened, Asari began asking more questions. She wanted to know about Earth, about humans, about how they fought. Carter gave her simple answers. Never too much, but he noticed something. She wasn't just asking to mock him. She was curious, genuinely. "Your people build machines faster than we move," she said. "But your hearts, they burn hot. Even your children carry fire." Carter nodded. "Fire keeps us moving." She tilted her head. "Why did you come here?" "Vera 6 is nothing of value. Only old tribes and wild beasts. My mission," Carter said, "was to see if you had weapons. Maybe build peace. Maybe prepare for war. But after meeting you, I think we just don't understand each other." Asari didn't answer for a moment. She looked at the stars through the gaps in the trees. "Understanding is dangerous," she said. Quietly, "It makes enemies hesitate. Maybe hesitation saves lives," Carter replied. A silence fell between them. The camp grew quieter. Some Urella left to patrol the jungle. Others went to their sleeping areas. Asari stood up and motioned to guards. "Watch him," she said. "If he tries to run, take his legs." Carter raised a brow. "Nice bedtime message." She didn't smile. "Sleep, human. Tomorrow, you prove your words." "How?" "You fight." With that, she walked away into the darkness, her silver skin almost blending with the night. The guards sat near him, silent and alert. Carter looked at the bowl again, now cooler. He sniffed it once more, then slowly took a bite. It tasted better than he expected. "Not bad," he muttered. The guards didn't reply. Carter leaned back against the log behind him and looked up at the strange stars of Vera 6. He was far from home, tied up, surrounded by sharp-toothed aliens who might test him in the morning. But he had been in worse spots. Probably. His fingers tapped lightly on his boot, checking the beacon's rhythm, still blinking, still sending. He didn't know what would happen tomorrow, but he had already learned one thing: these Urella weren't mindless killers, at least. Not all of them. And Asari? She wasn't just a leader. She was a hunter who wanted to understand her prey. Carter smiled in the dark. This was going to be fun. The sun rose slowly over the jungle of Vera 6, casting long shadows through the tall trees. The mist was thick, and strange birds cried from deep within the woods inside the Urella camp. The fire still burned low. Carter sat up, his muscles stiff from sleeping on the hard ground with his hands tied. The guards hadn't spoken once during the night. They had just watched him like stone statues. Asari returned at sunrise. Her steps were light but firm. The warriors behind her followed without question. She stopped in front of Carter, her face unreadable. "Get him up," she said. The guards untied his hands, but one of them gave his shoulder a rough shove as they pulled him to his feet. Carter winced slightly but didn't say a word. Instead, he stretched his arms and gave a fake smile. "Good morning," he said. "Ready for breakfast or bloodshed?" "We test you now," Asari replied. "You speak with fire, but fire can be false." Carter nodded. "I figured." "What kind of test?" Asari led him through the camp toward a large open area surrounded by high stones. Warriors stood in a circle, weapons in hand, watching closely. In the center, there was space for one-on-one combat. "You face Gralak," she said. Carter looked at the big Urala warrior stepping forward. It was the same one who had nearly forced him to eat the red soup the night before. Gralak's chest was broad, and his claws were long and sharp. His armor looked worn from many battles. "You said you can fight," Asari continued. "Show us." Carter took a deep breath. "Great, no pressure." A Urala tossed him a short blade alien metal, slightly curved, with a rough grip. Carter caught it and tested the weight. "Not bad. Not great either." Gralak cracked his neck. "Try not to cry. Human." "I save that for music," Carter replied. The crowd hissed and murmured. They liked Gralak. He was one of their best. But some of them were curious. Could this human really fight? Asari raised her hand. "Begin." Gralak rushed forward with speed that didn't match his size. Carter ducked under the first strike, rolling to the side. He came up fast and slashed, but Gralak blocked it easily, claws against metal. The sound echoed in the open space. Gralak swung again, and this time, Carter didn't dodge fast enough. The edge of the claw scratched his shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he stayed focused. He moved around, never staying in one place. Humans weren't as strong as Urala, but they were quick, smart, and stubborn. Carter waited for Gralak to overreach. Then it came. Gralak lunged with both hands. Carter dropped low, slid beneath his arm, and jabbed the blade into his side. Not deep, but enough to hurt. Gralak roared and turned, swinging wild. Carter backed away, panting. The crowd fell silent. Blood dripped from Gralak's side. Carter stood tall, blade ready. "I'm still standing," he said. Gralak snarled. "Lucky cut. You want another?" Asari stepped forward. "Enough." Gralak didn't move. His eyes were locked on Carter. Breathing hard, "I said enough," she repeated, louder this time. Gralak growled low, then stepped back slowly. His pride was hurt, but he obeyed. Asari walked to Carter, her gaze steady. "You fought with skill, not just strength. You watched, you waited." Carter wiped blood from his shoulder. "We call it fighting smart," some Urala murmured. Approval. Others stayed quiet, but the shift in the air was clear. He wasn't just a prisoner anymore. "Why didn't you try to kill him?" Asari asked. Carter shrugged. "Not here to kill. Just to survive." Asari gave a small nod. "That's the answer of a soldier, not a beast." Gralak walked away, holding his side. The other warriors gave him space. Pride was a heavy wound. Later, Asari brought Carter water and a wrap for his cut. "You earned something today," she said. "What's that?" he asked. "Doubt," she replied. "They no longer know what to think of you. And when warriors doubt, they hesitate." Carter sipped the water. "Hesitation saves lives, remember?" Asari looked at him, the corners of her mouth almost lifting. Perhaps, that night, he wasn't tied up. He slept near the fire, free but watched. No one called him weak. No one dared him to speak. Asari sat a little closer than before. The jungle still whispered in the dark, but now, so did questions. Who was this human? Why did he fight like that? And more importantly, what else was he hiding? The jungle of Versix was alive with sounds as night turned into morning. Mist curled around the sharp leaves. Deep in the sky, something moved slow, almost hidden. A human ship was now in orbit, silent and waiting. In the camp, Carter stood near the fire again, rubbing his sore shoulder. The scratch from Growling had been wrapped, and while it hurt, he didn't show it. The Urela warriors kept glancing at him, less like he was a prisoner and more like he was a strange visitor they couldn't figure out. Asari stood nearby, her arms crossed. Her silver skin shimmered in the sunlight. She watched Carter closely. "You surprised them," she said. "They thought you'd fall quickly." "I thought so too," Carter joked. "But I've had worse mornings." Asari gave a small nod. "Today, we hunt." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Hunt what?" "A beast we call Vrax," she replied. "Fast. Dangerous. We track it for sport and to feed the camp. Sounds fun. You come with us," she said. "Prove you can. Walk beside us, not just fight us." Carter grinned. "You're starting to like me." "Not yet," Asari replied. "But I don't want to kill you anymore. I'll take that as a win." They left the camp with 6 other warriors. Moving quickly through the jungle paths, Carter followed between 2 younger Urela, both quiet but not hostile. Asari led the way, crouching low and scanning the ground. The Vrax moves near the river. She said, "We'll trap it there." Carter's hand stayed near his knife. He wasn't here to prove anything, but he needed to stay alive. Each step forward meant another chance the beacon would be picked up by orbit. Maybe someone would come. Maybe not. They reached the river before noon. It was wide and muddy, with thick trees leaning over the edges. Asari raised her hand, signaling the group to stop. She crouched and pointed to the broken plants and deep tracks. "It passed here recently," she said. Carter knelt beside her. "Those claw marks, they're wide. Heavy too." She looked at him. "You track, a little. Not as good as you, but I've seen worse." Suddenly, a sharp growl echoed through the trees. Something big crashed through the brush. The warriors spread out quickly, forming a half circle. Carter moved with them. Knife ready. Then it appeared. The Vrax was huge, thick legs, a long tail, dark red scales, and glowing green eyes. Its jaw was lined with sharp teeth. It charged. One warrior tried to throw a spear, but missed. The beast rammed him into a tree, knocking him out cold. Carter didn't wait. He ran to the side, drawing the beast's attention away from the others. "Hey, ugly," he shouted. The Vrax turned and roared. Carter dove behind a fallen log as the beast snapped at him. He rolled to his feet and slashed at its leg. The blade didn't cut deep, but it made the beast angry. Asari shouted, "Trap it between the rocks." Carter understood. He ran toward the rocky part of the riverbank. The Vrax followed. When it reached the narrow spot, the warriors sprang. The trap nets made from sharp cords flew over the creature. It thrashed, but the cords held. Carter jumped back, breathing hard. The Vrax roared one last time before falling, tired and caught. Asari stepped forward and drove her spear into its neck. It went still. The warriors cheered quietly. Even the young ones nodded toward Carter with new respect. "You moved well," Asari said. "You thought fast." Carter wiped sweat from his face. "I'm full of surprises." On the way back, they carried meat from the beast and spoke less. The respect was growing. Carter wasn't just a prisoner now. He had helped save one of their own. He had helped when the hunt. Back at the camp, Asari handed him a small carved token. "What's this?" he asked. "A mark of trust," she said. "Few outsiders ever earn one." Carter looked at it carefully. It was shaped like a claw, made of dark bone, simple but sharp. "Thanks," he said. I didn't smile, but her voice softened. "You walk like us. You fight like us. Maybe you're not so different." Carter nodded. "Maybe you're not either." But as the fire burned and the camp grew quiet, Carter sat alone and stared at the stars. He wondered if the beacon had worked. He wondered what would happen if it had. He was earning trust, but trust could break fast in war, especially when ships started falling from the sky. The night sky above Versix sparkled with distant stars, but one of them moved. It blinked. Then it grew. Carter stood near the edge of the camp, staring up. It wasn't a star. It was a ship, human-built and slowly descending. He didn't smile. He didn't cheer. Instead, his heart felt heavy. The beacon had worked. He walked back toward the fire where the warriors were sharing pieces of roasted Varax meat. Laughter and quiet conversation filled the air. For once, Carter felt part of something. Even Gralak, who had once wanted to crush him, gave him a nod as he passed. Asari was sharpening her blade near her hut. She looked up as Carter approached. "You saw it too?" she asked. He nodded. "A ship. It's mine. They came for you. Or they came for something else," Carter said quietly. Her eyes stood. "What do you mean?" He looked at the firelight dancing in her silver eyes. "If they think I've been captured, they might not ask questions. They might just attack." Asari frowned. "Your people would destroy us for finding you?" "Not me," Carter said. "But some humans think every unknown is a threat." She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "We would defend ourselves." "I know," he replied. "And that's what scares me." Before more words could be said, a loud boom echoed through the jungle. The sky turned orange for a second as something broke the atmosphere. The camp went silent. Asari turned to her warriors and shouted, "Ready the defense." Urela rushed to grab weapons, spears, claws, shields. They moved fast, even the young. Once helped drag barriers into place. Carter stood still, then looked at Asari. "Let me talk to them. They won't listen to you," she said. "Maybe not," he said. "But if they see me alive, not hurt, not chained, maybe they'll wait before firing." Asari's eyes narrowed. "You walk into fire." "I've done it before." She gave him a short nod. "Go." Carter ran through the jungle, fast as he could. The trees passed in blurs, and each breath was sharp in his lungs. When he reached the old high ridge, he climbed up quickly and pulled out the flare in his boot. He fired it into the sky. A bright green light burst overhead. Minutes later, a human dropship hovered down nearby, its side door opening. A man in a dark suit stepped out, armed and alert. Behind him were 5 soldiers. "Carter," the man called. "Yeah," he shouted back. "I'm alive, and I'm not a prisoner." The man frowned. "You've been missing for days." "I had company," Carter said. "Good company." The soldiers looked at each other, confused, suspicious. The man stepped closer. "We tracked your beacon. We're under orders to check for threats. The command believes the locals are hostile." "They're not," Carter said. "Not unless you make them." "That's not your call." "Maybe not," Carter said. "But I'm asking stand down. Let me bring someone." "Talk first, don't shoot." The man didn't answer for a long moment. Then he nodded once. "You have 1 hour." Carter turned and ran back. In the camp, tension was thick. Warriors waited near the outer edge. Asari stood tall, her claws out, armor gleaming. Carter reached her, out of breath. They agreed, but only for one meeting. She didn't blink. "Then we speak. And if they raise their weapons, you'll fight." Carter finished. "I know, but let's hope they don't." Together, they walked back to the ridge. When the humans saw Asari, some raised their weapons. Carter stepped in front fast. "Stop. She's with me." The man in charge lowered his weapon slowly. "This is the leader. Her name is Asari," Carter said, "and she saved my life more than once." Asari stepped forward. "We do not want war." The humans watched, unsure. But something about the way she spoke, firm, honest, made them pause. The man looked at Carter. "You trust them with my life." There was silence. Then the man gave a slow nod. "We report back. No attack. For now." Carter breathed out. Her eyes stood tall. "We give your people a chance. Don't waste it." Back at the camp, the warriors slowly lowered their weapons. No blood was spilled. Not that day. Carter sat near the fire again, the token still in his hand. I sat across from him. "You stood for us. You stood for me first." For a moment, there was peace. But peace in the galaxy was never simple, and Carter knew this. It was just the beginning. The camp was quiet, but the tension still hung heavy in the air. The humans had landed, but the truce was fragile. Both sides watched each other closely. Carter knew the peace would not last long unless something changed. Asari stood at the edge of the camp, staring into the dark jungle. She had never trusted outsiders before, but Carter was different. He had shown courage and respect. and that made her think about new possibilities. Why do you risk so much for us? She asked quietly, walking beside him. Carter looked at her. Because sometimes survival means more than just fighting. It means trust. Asari frowned. Trust is dangerous. Sometimes it's the only way to win. They walked together through the camp, where warriors were repairing weapons and preparing for whatever might come next. Some of the younger Urela looked at Carter with new respect, but others whispered in fear and doubt. Your people don't understand us, Asari said. They think we are savages, and some of yours think humans are weak. Carter laughed softly. We both have wrong ideas. They reached a quiet hut where maps and data were spread on a wooden table. Carter took out a small device from his pack and showed her the scans of the jungle and the nearby territories. We want to protect this moon, he said. Not destroy it. Asari nodded slowly. But how can we stop a war if no one listens? Carter's eyes hardened. By fighting together. She looked at him, surprise clear in her eyes. I teach you our ways, Asari said. You teach me yours. Deal. They began training at dawn. Carter learned to move silently through the jungle, to think like a hunter rather than a soldier. Asari watched closely as he practiced with a spear, trying to match her swift, precise strikes. You fight with heart, she said, but you must fight with mine. I'm learning. Their bond grew stronger with each day. Warriors on both sides noticed. Some joined in the training, eager to learn new ways. But not everyone was happy. Gralak, still wounded, approached Carter one evening. His face was stern. You are soft, Gralak said. You trust too easily. Maybe, Carter said, but soft can win where strength fails. Gralak growled and walked away, leaving Carter alone with his thoughts. Then came the warning. Scouts reported that a large enemy fleet was approaching the system, ready to attack both humans and Urela. Asari called the council. We face a greater threat, she said. Not just each other. Carter stepped forward. Then we must fight as one. The room filled with murmurs. Some shouted in agreement. Others doubted. Asari raised her claws. We will stand together or fall divided. Preparations began quickly. Humans and Urela worked side by side, sharing weapons, tactics, and stories. The fear of a common enemy brought them closer than ever before. On the day of battle, the sky darkened with warships. Lasers lit the void. Explosions shook the stars. Carter fought with Asari at his side, their movements synchronized. The Urela's speed and his human cunning made them a deadly pair. The enemy faltered. After hours of fierce fighting, the opposing fleet retreated. Victory was theirs. Asari turned to Carter, breathing hard. You kept your word. We kept ours. The camp celebrated, but Carter knew the galaxy would not forget this day. Humans and Urela had chosen unity over war, and that choice would change everything. The jungle was quiet again, but the air felt different. The war was over, but something had changed between humans and Urela forever. Carter and Asari stood side by side on a small hill overlooking the camp. The firelight flickered in their eyes. Asari's claws flexed lightly as she watched the warriors celebrating below. We fought together and survived, she said. But what comes next? Carter smiled softly. Peace is harder than war, but worth it. Suddenly, Gralak appeared, his armor shining but his expression serious. He stopped before them. You surprised me, he said to Carter. You fight with Tahan's heart and mind. Carter chuckled. That's my last wish. Gralak nodded and extended a clawed hand. Carter shook it firmly. Nearby, the younger warriors gathered, watching the moment. The old rivalries were fading. Then, a Urela commander approached, captured and pinned under Asari's claws, the same way she had once held Carter. The warriors struggled, eyes wide. Last wish? Asari whispered, her voice calm but fierce. The warrior hesitated. Carter stepped forward, voice steady. Don't waste time. Asari released the warrior. The moment was clear, a lesson in mercy and strength. The commanders from both sides arrived next day. The humans and Urela leaders sat together, eyes sharp but open. The war that once seemed inevitable had been stopped. Carter spoke first. We were enemies by mistake. We can be stronger as allies. Asari nodded. Our claws and your weapons, together, protect more than just one planet. The leaders agreed to a new pact of promise to learn from each other, to share, and to build a future without needless bloodshed. I turned to Carter later. You changed us. And you changed me, he said. The jungle around them seemed less wild, more alive with hope. And as the stars watched silently, the two former enemies stood united not by force, but by trust. Carter smiled, thinking of the first time Asari whispered those words, claws at his throat. Last wish. Yeah. Try using two hands next time.